Welcome back, comic book fans. It's Rusty again with Collector Auctions, and here I am with another episode devoted to my trip down to Heroes Con this year. We're finally to day 2, and I've got a lot of books to get signed this day by some big name creators. And this list today, the ones you're going to see, it's only going to be a short list because there are a lot of books I have to show to you that I got signed. So we're going to cut down the number of creators and devote a lot more time to the books that I got signed. So who am I covering today? Well, first up was Gerry Conway, the man who created The Punisher, who killed Gwen Stacy. He's done so much work in DC and Marvel. Big time creator, helped create Power Girl. Big time creator, and I've never met him before. This is his first trip to Heroes Con, so he's up first. You're going to see Roy Thomas in there, but it's somebody that I did not get any autographs from this time. I did film a little bit of him sitting at the table. He was right next to Gerry Conway. Then we move over to Klaus Janson and to Tim Seeley, and then we wrap up with a big segment with Frison. You're not going to see a lot of footage, but you're going to see a lot of books. So sit back, enjoy some of the footage, and I'll come back and we'll do a show and tell. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Klaus, how you doing? Pretty good. I got 4 books if you don't mind. Y'all take credit, right?
Yes.
Cool.
She's the boss.
She's the boss.
Wait, how many do you have?
I got 4.
4?
Yep.
Are they...
No CGC.
Okay.
Oh, thanks.
Yep, no worries. Sometimes I put so much painter's tape on there, sometimes they get stuck.
Yeah, but you're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Klaus, thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Enjoy the rest of the show. You gonna be in Baltimore this year?
Yes.
Cool. Awesome.
You're there.
Yes, I'm from Baltimore, so yes, absolutely.
Yes. He's going to do a long range. You guys know what's going on.
Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed some of the footage from the show. I had a lot of fun going back and putting all this footage together, kind of remembering everything. It's been over a week now since I've been back from the show. It's taken me time to film and edit everything, and it was a great experience. And here we are on day 2, and I did make a point of getting there as early as I possibly could to get in line as quickly as possible. I was in the VIP line, which meant I was going to be able to get in an hour before the show opened at 10 o'clock. So at 9 o'clock, I was going to be able to go in. And when I got there, I was probably around 20 people back in line. Of course, you're going to have a few extra people with those people, so probably 25 back at that point. That wasn't too bad. And unlike day 1, I did change up my tactic, which was don't bring in the big cart that I literally started day 1 with, where I could literally put 3 short boxes of comics in this cart, as well as carry some other things. And that slowed me down day 1. That's what made me kind of get pushed back in the Chris Claremont line. So in this one, Well, the reason it slowed me down was because you have to go down the elevator. You can't just pick that up. It's too heavy. So for safety reasons, you have to take the elevator. That's what slowed me down. But here we are at day 2. I learned from my day 1 mistake. I brought the small single cart that I could put one short box in and have room for some other books and things like that. I could pick that up, and that's what I did. I went down on the escalator with everybody else, and I immediately headed to Gerry Conway. Now, it's somebody I've never gotten an autograph from, and I was excited about meeting him for the first time and getting some books signed. My other choice would have been Roy Thomas. Now, Roy Thomas is only going to be here on this Saturday, but I've gotten him in the past, and to be quite honest, I made a choice. It was one of those, Gerry Conway was going to be there only on Saturday and Sunday. I could have pushed Gerry Conway off to the next day, and maybe that probably would have been the smarter choice to try to get some things done. But to be quite honest, making that choice, there's always a cascading effect, a domino effect that happens like that. If I had done that, I would have been day 3, immediately heading to Gerry Conway to get him first thing, but that would have delayed me eventually getting to Scotty Young. So it all worked out in the end. I just had to sacrifice Roy Thomas because of it. But you do see him in the footage right there, so I hope you enjoyed that. So go up there to meet Gerry Conway, and what did I bring to get signed? Well, I could have broken out my copy of, it's a 5.0 Amazing Spider-Man 129 that I picked up at this point. I guess it's over a year and a half ago at this point. I could have picked that up. I could have broken it out and got it signed. But if you've watched the videos before, you already know that I didn't spend a lot of time at CGC. In fact, I didn't get anything witnessed and taken to CGC. It wasn't on the cards for this show because I just ran out of time getting all these books prepared for Heroes Con that I didn't have time to do a decent, unrushed clean and press on any of the books I was going to bring in. And I would have wanted to take that 129, crack it open. I think it can get a little bit better than a 5.0. Add Gerry Conway to that. And you might ask, why wouldn't you get Roy Thomas as well? He was the editor. Was he the editor-in-chief at the time? I'm not sure. But I'm not big on getting Roy Thomas as an editor on a lot of these things. He seems to have a habit of taking creator credit for a lot of other people's work, and it leaves a bad taste in my mouth. Maybe that's the real reason why I wasn't too interested in getting Roy Thomas at this show, and I made the choice that I made. So what did I bring? Well, I did bring some facsimiles. Now, I could have gotten some of my old ASMs, but the conditions are not that good. I would have liked to have gotten them graded if I was just doing it for my PC. That's one thing. But part of what I'm going to do at this con is get things for the private collection, for the personal collection, and then get things that I can resell, whether I get them graded or they're just raws. And I look at this as an investment, partially at least. So I made a choice to bring certain books here, and I'll show you what I brought. And you can agree or disagree with this. But the one thing I did have an issue with at this point was they were only accepting cash at the Gerry Conway's table or PayPal. And I'll be quite honest, my PayPal was set up to the bank account, and the way bills are going right now, I didn't want it coming out of the bank account. So I couldn't really use PayPal. Well, eventually what I did was I ended up just paying in cash, and I cut down on the number of books that I got signed. Now, luckily, Gerry Conway is going to be at CGC with Roy Thomas in August for a private signing, and I may still send in that ASM 129 that I own, break it out. I'll do that clean and press. I should have some time in July to be able to work on that and get it ready and sent down for that signing. I still am not going to get Roy Thomas on there. I still just want Gerry Conway. But at least I still have an option for that down the road. So what did I get signed by Gerry Conway when I went to the show? Well, of course, I'm big on facsimiles, so what I did was I had several copies of the new facsimile for 129. And you can see Gerry Conway's signature right up here. And I actually got 3 copies of this done. Now, I had a couple of more copies of these facsimiles. Now, I'll keep one for the PC, but I definitely will have some of these available. eBay store, short box page. I will also, guys can just reach out to me at collectorauctions@yahoo.com if you're interested in something like that as well. But I got 3 copies of 129, the facsimile there. I've got, because they were personal favorites, and I did cut down on some of the duplicates on these issues. It's because they were taking cash, and cash was going fast at this show. So I ended up using the credit card a lot during the show when it was available, but I tried to be strategic on the cash. So I did cut down on Gerry Conway a little bit. That was one disappointment right there. But I did get the facsimile of 121, the Death of Gwen Stacy, and he signed that. Where did he sign that? It's right over Spider-Man's butt there in blue. It's a little hard to see. And facsimile of 122, The Death of the Green Goblin, and he signed it right there. And just so you know, 122 was my very first Spider-Man book I ever got off the newsstand back in the day as a kid. And I never read 121 until years later. But 122 was always one of my favorite issues. I got to see The Death of the Green Goblin. It was fun going back, eventually picking up and reading old back issues, trade paperbacks that reprinted The Death of Gwen Stacy, and understand the history and learning about Spider-Man. This is where my journey with Spider-Man really began. And love this issue. And I think right now both of these are going to be PC copies. I wish I'd gotten some more, but as I said, I cut down on the duplicates on these just because, honestly, like I said, cash was going fast, and I still had a full day on Saturday, that's when we are right now, and Sunday as well. So I was trying to keep those cash reserves ready for everything else that was going to come. Well, then the only last thing I did get signed wasn't necessarily a facsimile, but it is kind of a reprint, but it's its own issue. It is Marvel Tales number 98. And this is an official reprinting of The Death of Gwen Stacy. And I had picked this up. Oh, I'm looking at this back in 2023 at a little Comic-Con. I actually picked this up because the condition on this is really nice. I picked it up as a grading candidate. Some of these Marvel Tales of some of these big issues can do really well, just like a facsimile, but the Marvel Tales reprints can do really well. These got some age on them as well. I think this came out, when did this come out? 1978, so that's a pretty old comic book in and of itself. So I went ahead and got this one signed. This is a book that probably will get graded at some point. And that was everything for Gerry Conway. I did have a nice conversation with him. Very quick. I hope everything works out. I mean, he is getting a little old, but the plan right now is to break out my 129, clean and press it, get that into that CGC signing in August, and I hope that all works out pretty well. Like I said, I think I can get a slight grade bump from a 5.0. We'll see about that. But there we go with Gerry Conway. And if I get a chance to see him again, I'll bring some more of these facsimiles. I love getting these things signed. Sometimes you can get them graded. They're great small investments. The books cost cover price or less sometimes. So that was really good. So I moved over. At this point, I went over to Klaus Janson, and he signed several books, and you've already seen a few of those in the John Romita episode that I put out. In fact, every book I gave Klaus Janson, somebody else had already worked on the book, and that's the case with the one book I'm going to show you right here. Mike Barron, who you'll see in a future episode, because he signs a lot of Nexus books, wrote the first ongoing Punisher book, and Klaus Janson did the art. I mean, he actually did the art. He's not an inker. He did the whole thing. So up here at the top, Mike Barron and Klaus Janson on that. This was a really nice copy. It's from my PC. It's my original copy. It's not quite gradable, even though I have cleaned and pressed this. It's got a tick on the there that's going to knock that grade down, so I may just keep this as a raw at this point. All right, guys, so I finished up with Klaus Janson, and I think that was all the books. I think you've seen everything at this point. Who knows? Another book may sneak in there, but you probably will see some of him in the footage from the day 3, because I did make one return trip to him as well. But I think I've shown you all the books at this point. I'll have to check. But after I finished up with him, I ended up looking in the vicinity, who's in the area, whose lines are short at this point. Because at this point, I've already did the big signing with Gerry Conway, and I've only got a small one single box with me. So I tried to anticipate who I was wanting to get signed. I didn't have everything with me. The idea was, once I got to a good opportunity, go back to the car, get the big cart, get the 3 boxes back in there, and then come back in the show and continue on. And I could come in at a leisurely pace at that point. I wouldn't have to worry about rushing anywhere. Well, I did have a few books with me. Obviously, I had the Klaus Janson book right here. I've got the Tim Seeley books, and I've got Jenny Frison books on me. And that was kind of the map, the plan that I had laid out for myself. So I ran over to Tim Seeley. Luckily, there was nobody in line. He is a writer as well as an illustrator. He's been writing this one book right here. It's very popular. It's got some great covers. And I ended up going back to him again on Sunday, and I've got those books in here as well because Adam Hughes signed a book, and I decided to pull those books out of the Adam Hughes portion of the video that you'll eventually see and bring them for Tim Seeley the next day. But I'm going to include all the Tim Seeley books here except for his West of Sundown books that were signed by Aaron Campbell, and you'll see him in an upcoming video, so I pulled those books out. And what was interesting is I also did not get some of the Gwynverse books that Greg Land signed. Now, you haven't seen those either. You'll see those coming up as well. But I didn't feel like I needed Tim Seeley on those books. Those books were all about the covers, to be quite honest. Sometimes it's all about the cover. Sometimes it's about the creative team. Well, let's start with what I got Tim Seeley to sign. And the big book he's been writing most recently is Rogue Savage Land. I think this is a mini-series. This goes back into the old Claremont Jim Lee run when Rogue ends up the Savage Land with Magneto. There's Nick Fury involved. And, of course, you see them all. Well, you see Kazar right there, but you don't see Nick Fury, but he's in the series. It was part of this in-between stories between stories that were already told. And honestly, I got this book. It wasn't because I was interested in Rogue and a Savage Land. It was mostly for this, is it Kari? Is that how you say Kari Andrews cover? Right here, and I ended up getting a couple of these signed, and the reason I'm stocking up on Kari Andrews covers is because he's going to be at Baltimore Comic-Con in October, and the plan is to get all these books that I've gotten signed by other creators to get him to sign these covers as well, these books as well. But that wasn't the only really good cover from the series. If you guys are fans of this book, you know that you got some J. Scott Campbell covers in there, and I got a couple of copies of those signed. There's Tim's signature right there, by the way. And you got some Russell Dodderman covers as well. You can see it right there in the middle. You can see Tim signed that. So I got a couple of copies of that. And I'm running out of room already. There's a lot of autographs at the show. A lot of books got signed. But these are still issue 1s, by the way. And then the Adam Hughes ones were the foil cover right here, and Adam Hughes signed this after I went to Tim Seeley. Now, I didn't get Tim Seeley sign these originally because these books were with the Adam Hughes books. That was one of my problems, is that I would go to an artist, I'd pull the books, and I'd forget that I'd had some other books for that other creator in their stack. And that's why the Sunday show is going to be a lot of going back to a lot of creators for a second time. Well, Tim Seeley did this on Sunday. He signed it down here in white. This was the original foil cover to issue number 1. And there's Adam Hughes. And they did them both in white, so it pops off of there really nice. And I had bought, is that a word? That's not a word, by the way, bought 2 copies of that. But that wasn't the only Rogue Savage Land books for issue 1 I got signed. I actually got issue number 2, the J. Scott Campbell. I think this has actually been my favorite cover so far. This one's a close second right there. I like this better than issue number 1, J. Scott Campbell, and Seeley signed it down there. It's a little hard to see there on camera. But that was everything except for the West of Sundown books that Tim Seeley signed for me on both Saturday and Sunday. So that brings us to Jenny Frison. And Jenny Frison, very popular, obviously. I don't need to go into the history of the amount of covers. What's interesting is I had already talked to one of the creators about the books on New Comic Book Day. I literally go in there on New Comic Book Day, and there are weeks where you've got multiple Jenny Frison covers and multiple Art Germ covers, and it's a competition to see who has the most covers in a particular week. Well, I think Jenny Frison usually wins this right here. There's weeks where I've seen at least 3 to 4 covers all coming out the same week, not just the same month. Well, I decided to go in heavy on Jenny Frison, and it's partially for the PC, but I'll be quite honest, I did this as part of helping pay for the hobby. And I ended up getting a lot of books coming in, getting ready for the show. And the idea was go in heavy on Jenny Frison, whether I get them graded or I can sell some of these as raws. That's the idea. So guys, you are going to be able to go to my eBay store. I've already mentioned it, and short box page eventually, and you will be able to see what is available out of this Jenny Frison collection. And I'm going to go through all these books, and I'm not going to have any duplicates in here, but I'm going to tell you, I've got duplicates like crazy. I went to her on Saturday, and then I went to her on Sunday. I didn't have as much for Sunday because I got most of these signed all at one time. And one of the things that I've already talked about is a lot of the creators, what they're doing is, if you've got too many books, they will break it down. Get these signed, give somebody else a chance, give 2 or 3 people a chance to go through with smaller batches, go back, get another small batch signed, and you can literally sit there at the table. And she had 2 tables, so you had plenty of room. You saw it in the video. She was using the paint pen on a lot of it. A lot of it was Sharpie, but there was room for the books to dry and not get smeared if you stacked them up too soon. So let's just get into this, and I'm going to rapid fire this as much as I possibly can. You know I love talking about each of these, but I will stop at a few of these and just tell you how much I love this cover. But let's just start with Poison Ivy. We got issue number 6. Single issue. I couldn't get too many. This was more expensive than the cover price on a lot of these are cover price for the most part, but some of these earlier issues, like number 6, I spent a few more dollars on. Number 10 is a very popular cover. In fact, Capture Collectibles has, no, I take it back, wasn't this cover, but it's still a very popular cover. It was this one right here. Actually, you know what? Hang on. I've completely messed this up. I was going to give you some Harley Quinn books right there, but let's switch over. Back to Poison Ivy. We got issue number 26. We got issue number 27. Issue number 28. Right? Yep, 28. And probably my favorite cover that I got signed by her the whole weekend was issue number 20, what is this, 29 of Poison Ivy. This one right here has been my all-time favorite cover this last year by Jenny Frison. Actually, over the last couple years. The coloring on this is just phenomenal. Just absolutely phenomenal. So my favorite cover, and I got several, as I said, I've got several of all of these signed when I was there. We've got issue number 30. And for finishing out Poison Ivy, we got issue number 31 right there. And let's just move over to Catwoman. We got issue number 30 on that. And issue 31, of course, we got Poison Ivy on that one as well. We got issue number 32. There's Selena in the old Catwoman suit right there. And one of my favorite covers was this Catwoman number 33, again with Poison Ivy and Selena, Catwoman right there. I love that. She signed that in a green pen. That was pretty good. Jenny Frison did take some time to, even though she didn't want to use paint markers. In fact, she told people, no, I'm not using a paint marker. She only used it occasionally in a couple of my books. It was because she's signing so many so fast, there's no time to let that thing dry. That's why she was trying to avoid signing with a paint pen. All right, let's go to Harley Quinn. I'm looking here. This is the only copy of this I had. It was issue number 25. That's a very popular cover. And in fact, this is one I was going to mention a second ago. Capture Collectibles put out a limited edition release of this cover. It's a reprint, but it's got a pink coloring scheme to it. And I actually ordered from Capture Collectibles a couple copies of this book already signed. They had them raw, signed, and then signed graded as well. Actually, I think they had graded unsigned and graded signed. You could have bought any of those. And I ended up buying just a couple of raws because the price on the signed book, which was $29.99, was only at $10 additional for the signature, and that's pretty much what would have happened. I would have bought the books raw, got Jenny Frison to sign. It still would have been the same price practically. So I've got those coming eventually. You'll see those at some point, but there's Jenny Frison on that. This one is the only copy I have on that one, though. But the ones I've got multiples on are issues number 27 right here. You got 29. And I did ask her who her model was for this, and I've got an idea who this is, but I didn't say it, and she just kind of blew the question off real quick, like she didn't have a model for that at all. And I don't know, but that's one of those things where I've got an idea of who this might be. And then we've got this beautiful Harley Quinn 31. It's another, you got Poison Ivy on the cover there with Harley Quinn. And then we've got issue number 32, this beautiful pink cover right there. And I think she used green on this. Yeah, the green actually pops off pretty good. And she was using the green on another book, and she just kept the pen. I probably would have preferred black on there, but nonetheless, still really good. And then we go over to the non-DC books, except for I think there's one in here. But let's just bang through this real quick. We go over to some Marvel books. Spider-Gwen #1, one of my other favorite covers that was last year. And I was able to pick up this copy of the Virgin earlier this year, so she signed that as well. I don't have dupes on the Virgin, but I do have dupes on the Trade Dress. And I think I've only got one on the X Factor Polaris cover. That was really nice. I've only got this one Dazzler issue number 4. I really like that. That was really nice. And you notice I'm not buying, except for that Virgin's Spider-Gwen, I wasn't buying Virgins of this. The idea was to keep the price of the book, that acquisition, down as low as I could, so I could put the value into getting them signed, and then, like I said, get them graded or have them available as just signed raws. We've got Demon Days, Cursed Web. You've got this beautiful Mystique cover right there. And this has just come out, Magic number 3. And I've got a couple of this one and one other. And let's move this down. Now this, I've got multiple copies, both foil and the paper version. This is the paper version of G.I. Joe #1. You've got Joshua Williamson, who wrote in his writing the new G.I. Joe series from Image. He had signed this months ago, and you see that right there. And where's Jenny? Jenny's hard to see because it's up here. You see it right there? Yeah. See it right there? She signed it in gold. It doesn't pop out quite as much, but I have got multiples of the paper version as well as signed copies of the foil version of this as well. I did get to see the original pencil sketch. It's not really a sketch. It's a full-blown drawing of this. Thing is big. It's like 12 by 18. It is a very big drawing. I did not get a chance to talk to her about the coloring process. I wish I had spent time with her doing that, but she really, I would say she was very nice, but kept a arm-length distance. I suppose I could have asked a few more questions, but it didn't seem like she was there to sign autographs and just kind of bang through it. Now we move over to a book here that was very popular a few years ago, 8 Billion Genies, #1, the Jenny Frison cover. And this is a book that is signed both by, well, Jenny Frison, but we've also got Charles Soule and Ryan Brown, the two creators on this book. So that's pretty good. It is not gradable unless you want something lower than a 9.8. It does have a tick over here. Now, this one had just come out. Speaking of those creators, their new series was Lucky Devils, and this is the Jenny Frison cover of that. And a buddy of mine had picked this up at an LCS that he had visited. The other LCS, the Third Eye Comics, the one I go to, did not have this, but my buddy went to another Third Eye Comics and was able to pick up a copy of this for me. So I ended up getting Jenny Frison to sign this, and I'd gotten Charles Brown in person up at the Philly Fan Expo back in May to sign this. Ryan Brown and Charles Soule both had showed up for the release of Lucky Devils when it first came out, and that was several months ago before the Fan Expo. So I didn't have a chance to get Ryan Brown again on this, but if I see him again, I'll add him to this book. This is a book that I will save for this fall when James Tynion returns to Third Eye Comics. It is, what is this? Oh my God, what's the name of the book? Something Corpses. I can't remember the name of the book. You guys know what the name of the book is, right? What is the name of the book? I can't remember. Something Corpses, right? I'm blanking right here what the book was, but this was the Jenny Frison cover, and you can see she signed right there. That gold does not pop out quite as much as I'd like. Does look okay on the Zatanna. This is the only other DC book I've got, and it is, she signed it right over there. Ooh, that right there. You see that? And then one of my all-time favorite Jenny Frison covers, in fact, my favorite, is the Something's Killing Children #1. This was a copy of #1 that I had. I picked it up. I spent, at the time, I thought it was a decent amount of money, but this is one of those failed cleaning and pressing problems I had. This book had a spot on the back cover there, and this is a tricky cover, this matte finish cover, and I wanted to get this into grading just as a raw, and I ended up kind of damaging the back of the book a little bit. But nonetheless, this is a book that I will save for James Tynion as well. And I already have this. I already have it signed by Frison, Deladera, and Tynion. It's graded 9.8. It is one of my PC books. I love that book. But this one right here, I'll save for an in-person James Tynion at some point. It will probably never get graded because of the defect on the back. Will knock that grade down. I just won't be happy with it. And then lastly, we got some Vampirellas. Vampirella Dark Reflections #1. And then the two I really like was Vampirella #675. That's absolutely drop dead gorgeous. As well as Vampirella 677 right there. And guys, I've got multiples in the last two Vampirellas as well. So if you're interested in anything, again, just reach out to me at collectorauctions@yahoo.com or look at my eBay store. They'll be in there eventually. I'll be offering COAs with everything if it's a raw. Otherwise, it'll be graded and it is what it is. They'll have to be JSA verified with CGC. But eBay, Shortbox, take a look at both of those places. Those links are down in the description below. And speaking of down below, definitely leave me a comment. Let me know what you think of the books that I got signed. Let me know what you think about these creators. And if you enjoyed today's video, I'd love to hear from you. And if you did enjoy today's video, definitely give me a like, slap the subscribe, and click on that notification bell so you guys don't miss out on any of the episodes that I put out each and every week, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 8 p.m. All right, guys, take care. Enjoy the rest of the day. I hope to see you for the next episode. Until then, remember, every comic has a story.